diggers appear, and ain't no wannabes here with some not so nice advice for your writing career. To be clear, no punches will be pulled, but the punch may be spiked. How they like before they get on the mic. To my left, we got the mighty Mer Lafferty, and if I piss her off, believe me, she'll come after me. And her co-host, Ep6 Wallace, on the right. Yes, she may be half as hype as she can take him in a fight. So settle in, folks, buckle in and boot up. Time to meddle in a way to make your writer shut up. It's hard work, but the perk is that it's fun and exciting. Facebook will still be there when you're done writing. Ditch Diggers! Ditch Diggers!
So coming to you live from the Val Kilmer Theater of the Ditch Diggers Mansion, it is the Ditch Diggers with Mer Lafferty and Matt Wallace, and we're here celebrating Matt's book launch, Savage Crowns, out today, completing the Savage Rebellion trilogy. Hello, Matt.
The whole trilogy. It's done. Hello, Mer. Thank you. There is no one I'd rather celebrate a book release day with than you.
Oh, dude. Thank you.
We've been through all the wars together. You are probably my oldest friend at this point in my life that I still speak to. And yeah, so I was like, if I'm going to do something for my launch, I want it to be with Mer.
Oh, now I'm going to get all weepy.
You should. It's an exciting time. These are good times, man. We're both doing good. We both got books coming out. You just showed a beautiful arc of your new one before we started. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yes, I do have arcs of Chaos Terminal now. I'm not sure what to do with them, but it's very exciting. I have them.
I mean, not to be a dick, but I would like one.
I can send you one.
It would be good. I sent you my book. I mean, it was for selfish reasons. I wanted your help promoting the book, so that's why we did it. But still, your
publicist sent it to me.
My publicist did. We're gonna get into all of that later. But my publicist Cassidy is amazing. I love her. It's been reinvigorating me to have her. She writes these little handwritten notes that she sent when she sends books to people or sends anything to people. Yes. Did you not? I'm sorry. Did you not get one?
I don't think so.
I would be shocked if you didn't, dude. I
usually notice what's in the envelope when people send me books if there's anything extra. Now I'm like wondering if there's something tucked in there. Carry on.
Yes, but no, like multiple people have posted pictures to me of the notes that she has sent them with books and stuff, just to say thank you, because she's so sweet, and it's been such a huge change for me to have someone that engaged and awesome as a publicist, to be honest with you.
I'm all sad.
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to create an awkward moment. I've seen, like, again, multiple people. Maybe she just forgot or it slipped her mind or something, but I'm sure
it's fine.
If she's watching this, she's going to feel horrible now. So I really after praising her.
Well, I got an advanced reader's copy and I got a final copy. And so it's possible there's one with the final copy. Like I said, this morning I grabbed 2 books to bring upstairs, and I don't know where they went. They're somewhere upstairs, probably. But
I am going to guarantee you that there is a handwritten note with the other copy. That's how confident I feel in Cassidy.
Okay.
I guarantee you there, because I forgot you did get 2. Because again, you deserve it. You're Mer Lafferty. You deserve a special bound copy and a finished copy. So.
Aww.
I'm sure there's one with a finished copy. But yes, Cassidy's great.
We do have a new audience member in chat, Whimsical Sage. I'm new, been listening to the podcast. I should be writing for a few months and loving it. Welcome, Whimsical Sage. This is the Ditch Diggers, where we talk about writing, but we talk about it on more of a business level, and we swear. And I'm with a co-host, my friend Matt Wallace, whose book is out today.
Yeah, and I generally get very upset when we talk about the craft of writing on this podcast, because it's not about that. But I'm trying to work on that. I'm really trying to. I'm trying to work on being more tolerant.
Well, Whimsical Sage would like to ask what your trilogy is about, Matt.
That is such a sweet question. Thank you, Whimsical Sage. So, Savage Rebellion trilogy. It's about I keep describing it as a self-aware epic fantasy story. It started with the idea of, like, what if the people designing the world in an epic fantasy had read all the epic fantasy books I grew up reading? Like, what would they keep and what would they change? So it's about this seemingly utopian society that is medievalish in design, but also very scientific and very technologically advanced for that kind of society. It seems utopian, But what no one but a few people, and these are the people we follow in the story, realize is that there's a seedy underbelly to the whole thing. It starts with the revelation that there's this thing called the Savage Legion, which is an army of conscripts that they use against all of their enemies. And not only do they conscript prisoners, they conscript dissidents and anybody who speaks out against the state that they want to get rid of. So it's about three women who are in very different parts of this society, all kind of starting to unravel the seedy underbelly. There it is, Savage Legion. If you're listening to this podcast, you're not seeing what Mur is holding up the first two books, including the gorgeous hardcover of the first book. The other two didn't get hardcovers. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that's what it's about. It's about these three women who start unraveling the seedy underbelly of this seemingly utopian society. And yeah, very much inspired by The Wire in that aspect. I was like, what if I did The Wire as an epic fantasy? That was my other thought when I started it. So my mother says there are strong women characters. There are. Thank you, Mom. Excellent. And I was raised by a strong woman who's definitely a character.
Yes,
so
you were.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I've had a chance to meet Matt's mom at your wedding.
My wedding, yes. I was like, when that? Yes, it was my wedding. Yeah.
So.
Which was a great event. Got married in Vegas at the
it was
Neon Museum, which is one of the coolest, one of my favorite museums in the country, to be honest with you, because it's all art that was meant to be disposable that they preserved, and they have very fascinating stories about that. And then we ate at an amazing French restaurant that's not there anymore, and that makes me very sad. Pamplemousse no longer exists. COVID pandemic took them out, and they were going to reopen, and then a drunk driver drove through the front of the restaurant just when they were going to reopen. It was super tragic. We were crushed. We were absolutely crushed.
Wow. I always wonder, like, isn't insurance supposed to help out with stuff like that?
I'm sure it did, but I think they had already been through so much financially that just the added burden of it, they just couldn't recover. And I mean, we got to know them one of the reasons we had the reception there was because we got to know the owners and the staff very well. They were all much older and had been doing it a long time, so I think that was also a factor. They were just kind of at a point where it's like we can't do this anymore. You know, we're sad, but it's time for us to kind of ride into the sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we're going to talk about trilogies, which I'm always fascinated by. Just for a bit of backstory, if you're new, excuse me, I have a 3-book deal with Ace right now, but it's not a trilogy.
Right.
The books are probably all going to be in the same world, but it's not a trilogy because a trilogy has a specific structure. The books I'm doing are more of a episodic type thing. They're murder mysteries, so you set the scene, you set the space station, and then you've got your sleuth, and then you've got a murder, and then the next book, well, we haven't done any sort of large build-up of a world or a grand conflict. It's just another murder. I mean, I tend to think it's a good murder. I'm proud of it, but it was interesting, but I'm still fascinated by trilogies because I've never written one. So
it is
tell
very
me
true.
about that.
Tell you about it.
Tell me about it.
It feels so weird you asking me to educate you because you're way smarter than I am. No, but you know what's really interesting about that is because we planned this. Mer was going to talk about during this book launch, and I was like, we should talk about the economy and the business of trilogies because I just wrote one that seemed like a nice little ditch diggers tie into the whole thing. And when I said that, I was like, well, you know, Mer and I have both written trilogies. And then I was like, but no, you actually haven't you've done series. Mm-hmm. You've certainly done books in a series. But it's wild to me just now sitting here realizing, I mean, this is the first trilogy I've done. Like, this is my first epic fantasy trilogy, which is also my first trilogy. I did the Sin de Jure series, but those were like urban fantasy novellas. So this was my first novel trilogy that I just completed today, which I guess makes it kind of a big deal. But yeah, no, it's wild. And we should also to circle back and talk about some of the experiences you've had writing series too that did not become trilogies. I find that very interesting as well. But yes, writing trilogies. In theory, awesome idea. I wanted to do it just because I wanted to do it for two reasons when I first started. I wanted to do it because I wanted to write my big, sprawling epic fantasy series because I grew up reading big, sprawling epic fantasy series. I didn't want to, I mean, I say this, like I say, I didn't want to write one that was like 20 books and just never stopped. Like that didn't appeal to me. If these had been massive successes and they wanted to pay me to keep doing it, I would have absolutely done that, though. I'm not going to bullshit about that. I would have written 50 of these if the money was there, because I'm also a professional. But I like the idea creatively didn't appeal to me. So I'm like, instead of planning a 7, 9, 20 book series, I'm going to plan it to be a trilogy. And that'll be my big sprawling epic fantasy series. So even if I never get to write another epic fantasy again, I can say I got to do my take on epic fantasy. The reason I wanted to do that is because then they pay you for 3 books instead of 1, which is very appealing to an author who's trying to make money writing books. And that's why it is super bugs me when people talk about, I miss standalone books. Why does everything have to be a series? I'd like to see more standalone books. I love standalone books. If they wanted authors more to write them, there'd be a lot more standalone books. So that is also another reason that series are appealing to us. And this is the things we talk about in the podcast, so I want to be honest about that. But that's where it started. It started with, I want to do my big take on an epic fantasy series. I'll make it a trilogy because I don't want to write 20 books. And I'll do it because then they'll pay me for 3 books instead of 1. So those seem like great reasons. And it started out wonderful. First book went out. We were very fortunate to get like a bunch of offers from a bunch of different publishers. We ended up deciding on Saga, who signed me for 3 books. And that was Nava Wolf, who's an amazing editor. And I was super excited to work with her. And everything was looking hunky-dory and fantastic and lead title-ish and big hardcover release. And then, after that, things went, there you go. It's the big Murs holding up the fancy. And that's a beautiful book, by the way. They did an amazing job on the hardcover. Yeah. I love that hardcover. After that, things went astray a little bit. And it was a very muddled journey to get to where we are today, actually finishing the series with Savage Crowns. So, and we can dig in that a little deeper, but that's the preamble. That's the setup to the whole thing. So I hope that kind of answered the question that you were asking. No. I don't know if it did or not. No, it didn't.
No. Actually, my question had to do a little bit with craft.
Oh, so we want to talk about craft.
I want to talk a little bit about how you plan a trilogy, because I am a pantser, and the idea of planning a trilogy just scares the hell out of me.
No, absolutely. We can totally talk about that. So the thing is, I am too. I'm all about big beats. I like to know what my big beats are going to be, and then I feel like I can sort of freestyle around that. But it gives me an anchor. So I didn't have the whole thing planned out when I started, and when I finished the first book. I knew what I kind of wanted the big beats going forward to be, kind of my big middle Empire Strikes Back beats, and then my big finale finishing beats. But all of the details and stuff, I really I hate to use the word organic, but I can't think of a better one right now. I like it to be organic. I like to grow with the writing. I feel like I'm one of those people who feels like if you're locked into an outline, it takes a lot of the energy away from it, a lot of the spontaneity away from it. And you can feel that when you read the writing. I really do think that's true. I really do believe there's an energy to fiction that translates from author to reader experience. And no matter and the thing is, it doesn't matter how well something is written, if it lacks that energy, it just falls very flat for me. So for me to this is just me talking, but I feel like to have that energy, I need the room to just let the story kind of do its own thing. And I need the room to kind of free form and improvise and just kind of go wherever it takes me. But at the same time, it can be very scary to do that, not knowing where you're going when you're planning a big, long series. So it helped me to know, okay, these are the signposts I want to hit along the way. So that's kind of how I went about it in broad strokes.
Did you have any retcon feelings in book 3?
No. I mean, I have regrets, but we're talking about craft right now. Creatively, I mean, I do. I have some creative regrets too, honestly. We can get into that a little later. What else is not in the way you're talking about, because I gave myself permission for things to change as I went along. Even though I had those big beats, some of those did change too, especially in the last book, because originally I pictured all the, I don't want to give away too many spoilers. And I'll show my original vision for the book was a little, even though I wanted to turn tropes upside down, Epic Fantasy tropes upside down in this, because I had all that hardwiring from all the Epic Fantasy I grew up with. I'm I have these 3 protagonists in these very different parts of the world in the story who are all kind of accruing power as they go along. So obviously in the finale, they're all going to have to fight each other, right? Like it's gonna. And as the series went along and as I grew with it, I just kind of realized I didn't want to do that. Like I wanted them to be friends. Like I wanted them all to get on the same page in the end. So that was a huge change from my original conception of the story. And I'm super glad I did that. I'm really, really glad that I decided not to have them all do a Game of Thrones vying for the. And that was honestly where I came up with the title. So I really should have changed the title because it really doesn't even fit anymore. Because it's not about the crown thing anymore. But I'm really glad I did that. And that was the hugest change. And that's the reason I don't have like FOMO or regret about the last book now, because I'm really happy that I made it a story about the power of friendship.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you've alluded to quite a number of things that we're going to talk about later. How about we say now is later?
Yeah,
and,
now is later.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the letdowns or?
I mean, you had a question you wanted to ask me, and we talked about it before the show started, and you actually said you weren't sure you wanted to ask me it because it's so heavy, and you didn't feel like it might be the right time to ask me it.
Yes, I did, but you said go ahead, and you're still saying go ahead?
I'm saying go ahead. I think now is the perfect time to talk about it.
Okay, so I'm coming from the point of view of I had a book come out in the mid-teens, and it did fairly well. It got a lot of award attention, nominations, and then I did a couple of IP works, and then I came out with another similar genre story. And this is the one I have the 3-book deal for. And the first book in that series came out, and while it has not been poor, it certainly hasn't gotten the attention that the first book did. The
right.
non-connect 6 Wakes is what it's called. I'm trying to say that as if we have listeners out there who don't know. Anyway, so similar genre but completely different worlds. And so when I sat down to write book 2, I'm like, well, I can't try to hit it out of the park again because it's a second book. Even though it's a standalone, it's still a second book. And so if somebody read the first book and didn't like it, they're not going to pick up the second book. That is just complete series attrition that, is a fact in publishing. So I know you'd had your disappointments with the book, the fact that it started hardcover and then went to paperback for the subsequent books was one thing. And so my question, which is kind of rude, but I'm asking it to myself too, which is how do you write the next book of something that you're kind of disappointed how it did in the first place?
No, and it's not a rude question at all. It's a very good and important question, and a lot of authors are going to deal with this if they do what we do, because it's very hard to sell books. So I don't think it's rude at all. I think it's exactly the kind of thing we should talk about. So there's the thing, man. I love the story. I love this series. I'm grateful and really happy that I got to the end of it. I'm grateful to everyone who has read it and loved it, because there are a lot of people who really love the series and let me know that. And they've kept me going more than anything. But the professional publishing side of doing this series was incredibly difficult for me. And it wasn't just commercial disappointment, like it didn't sell well. Like it hasn't sold well, but it's been a whole thing. Like I mentioned, Nava Wolf was the one who bought the series. It's a big reason that we decided to go with Saga Press, quite honestly, because I loved Nava's work. She's an amazing editor. She's the best editor I've ever had, just hands down. And, to get really gritty and really honest, and I won't get into numbers, but like we had more money. We had offers for more money from other publishers. Nava was really the reason that we went with Saga and took kind of a lower offer to do it. And when we did that, I didn't regret it at all. Nava and I worked on Savage Legion, the first book. She pushed me harder and farther than any editor ever has, and made the book 10 times better than it would have been without her. And I love how the first book came out because of that. Like it was a really big, it made me feel smart for taking that deal because of how good I thought the book came out with Nava. As soon as we finished editing the first one, I turned in the first draft of the second one. It was a very rough draft, but I did it because I'm like, well, I want Nava to read it and tear it apart and help me make it better. So it's okay if it's a little rougher than my drafts usually are. Nava parted ways from Saga right after that. And under very dubious circumstances, it's not my story to tell or get into, so I won't. It's her story. But Nava had to leave, and
Well, I
it
know a
was
lot
not
of
her
authors
fault.
who were affected by that. And
They were. No, I'm
very
still friends with a lot of them.
unhappy about that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It was devastating. It was absolutely devastating to me and to everyone else, because Nava was not only an amazing editor, she was the champion for your book at that publisher. And we've talked about it on the show before, and it's one of the things that taught me the lesson of your editor is not only the person who helps you make the book good, they are the person who's going to champion you at that publisher. And sometimes they're going to be the only champion you have. They're a very important person to the future of you and your book at that publisher. And you need to take that into account when you make these kinds of decisions. Sadly, what we found out after Nava left was Nava was kind of the only champion we had there. And everything that was getting done for our books was getting done because Nava pushed very hard for it. And after she left, my series in particular basically got orphaned. The first draft of my second book sat on the shelf for 14 months, unedited and untouched, and just basically ignored. And I've been through 2.5 editors since then, with people changing over and stuff. And it just never really found a home within the publisher again. And, the problem with that is that then the fucking pandemic happened. So
yeah.
It was kind of it was a really nice double whammy. Nava left and I got orphaned. And then my first book was slated, The Savage Legion was slated to come out in 2020. And then boom, pandemic, lockdown. So it got buried, man. There's no other way around it. And here's the thing. I'm not saying if conditions had been perfect, it would have been a giant bestseller and I'd be the next George R.R. Martin or any of that stuff. But I know the book would have had a better chance if those conditions had not been in place. I do know that. I think it would have done a lot better than it did. So all of that happened. And, we made the deal in 2018, I think. So, we're sitting here 7 years later since we made the first deal, which, in terms of a fantasy trilogy, isn't that long in the space.
Right.
The series definitely take longer. But you also have to understand the original plan was for one book to come out exactly a year after the other. So it really wasn't supposed to be a long turnaround time between the books. And then here we are. So by the time I got to the third book, I was really burned out, man. I was really depressed, to be honest with you. After the second book in particular, I went into a really, really hard depression spiral for a long time about the state of my career. I'd worked really hard and really long just to get to that point. And even knowing everything I know, a book isn't a career. I know that. I preach that to other people. You have to look at the long term. You look at the Martha Welleses of the world. It can take a long time for your book to hit. And you got to stay at it and persistence and all that. And I preach it. But within that, it's still I don't want anybody to feel like it's not okay to be bummed about this shit. It is, dude. It's very hard for me to write long form to begin with. Savage Legion took a long time for me to do. It was years of my life. We sold it. It was supposed to be a lead title, big hardcover release. Everything was going great. And then it just fucking train wrecked and went to shit. And then the rest of the series went to shit because of that. And then I was writing middle grade books that came out during the pandemic, and those didn't sell. So I was just feeling very bad about everything. So by the time I got to the writing of the third book, yes, thank you. The Supervillain's Guide to Being a Fat Kid and Bump. I'm very proud of both those books. They're fantastic. My publisher on those is amazing, and they do everything for them. But middle grade is one of those genres that just took probably the biggest hit during the pandemic, honestly, because nobody buys digital where middle grade is concerned, and it's driven through schools and libraries, and those shut down. So my first middle grade book came out January of 2021. Just the timing of all of these things could not have been worse. So yeah, man, the last book, my enthusiasm was really buried. It was very, very hard for me to finish writing the trilogy. And I didn't have Nava either. I really feel the last two books were severely underedited. And I'm someone who needs that help, man. There's no shame in admitting that you can't do everything by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Editors are important. They're there for a reason. They help you make shit better. And I just know that both of the books would have been a lot better if I'd had Nava, and I didn't. So I have a huge complex about the last two books emotionally. My wife tells me I'm being way too hard on myself and that they're really good and they came out fine and all that. And I believe her intellectually, but emotionally, it's just very hard. And I even have a complex about the length, man. This is how neurotic writers get. You see how they descend in thickness as you go down. Most of the time in an epic fantasy series, the last book is way huger than the first book. You know, if you look at like the Max Gladstones, the Fonda Lees of the world, both of whom I'm a huge fan of, by the time they get to the last book in their series, it's a huge tome. And like my last book is much shorter than the first. And the fucked up thing about that is like I did that intentionally. Like personally for me, I feel like you get the heavy lift world building done early, and then you can focus on the story and the characters.
Yeah.
So like I wanted them to run leaner and run tighter as the books went on. I didn't want them to be 1,000-page slogs, because like it's very hard to do that. Like Fonda did that, and I love Fonda's work. It's a hard thing to do. For me as a reader, it's a hard thing. Like you really have to be good to get me to read a fucking 1,000-page book. And I know not everybody is like that, but that's how I am. So I'm like, I'm the one writing this series. I want to write it for people like me who, okay, we know what world we're in. I don't want to add 20 million new characters in each book and take the focus away from the people that you've really come to know and love, hopefully. I just want to focus on telling the story of the peoples. So intellectually, I plan for this to happen, but then I look at them and the back of my neurotic writer brain that's been traumatized by this whole process goes, did that happen because you were just burned out writing them and you just couldn't come up with more shit? Like, that's what I think in my head. It's very, like, I grapple with that a lot. It's a fucked up thing. So all of that is to say that when we come to today, to the release of Savage Ground and the end of my trilogy, the question you're asking is a very relevant question, because my enthusiasm was really dead. And to be honest with you, when I was thinking about the release of this book, I was just kind of like, I just kind of want to let it pass. I don't want to try to make a big deal out of it, because it's not. Tweet about it, and the people who really engage with me and like it, I can commiserate with them, and that's fine. But like, I just don't see any reason to try to do anything else at this stage, because I feel like it's going to be wasted time. Like, that's really where I was. It's like, I don't want to set up a bunch of events and put a bunch of time into doing promotion. I don't think it's going to make a difference, because I've seen the sales so far. I know the kind of support I'm getting from the publisher. I've been in this business a long time. I know what makes a difference and what doesn't, and it's just not worth it. So that was a place I'd really come to and try to be okay with that. I try to tell myself the biggest part of this is going to be relief. You're going to feel relief that you're done. You're going to be done with the series. You've written it. You're going to be done with this publisher that you do not enjoy working with. We can just move on. Like, that's going to be the biggest emotion of the day. It's going to be relief. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And those books will always be there. They'll always be in your back catalog. If you do something else bigger, people can go back and rediscover them. These are the things I was telling myself. So I did, but I got kind of blessed and cursed at the same time, because Saga hired a new publicist right when we were gearing up to do the release, Cassidy Sattler. And Cassidy is just amazing. Cassidy, all of a sudden, I had gone from feeling, and I had gone through as many publicists as I had editors on these books. Every single book, I feel like they had a new publicist or a new publicity team working on it. And they were all, whether it was through no fault of their own or not, because the thing with publicists and publishing is they're horribly overworked. They have very limited resources to work with most of the time. Most of them are doing the best they can with what they have to work with. They just don't have a lot to work with. Whatever the case was through the life of this series, like, the publicity had been nil. It had been negligible. Like, my publisher would tweet about my book once on publishing day, and then nothing. I would stop hearing from them. That's the truth. Like, it's the truth, man. Like, I would go back and look at my emails, and I'd be like, yeah, I stopped getting emails from them right after that date. It was just done. So I thought that was going to be the scenario with this third book. So that was where I was like, there's no point in doing this. Then Cassidy comes along, and she's like on it, man. She's the publicist you want for a book. She's communicative. She's out there doing everything, having ideas, reaching out to everybody, setting up podcast appearances, sending it to everybody she can send it to, setting up blog tours, just setting up everything she can do. So I was like sort of forced to re-engage and reinvest in this process against my will. So I'm simultaneously grateful to Cassidy, but also resent her deeply for it. Not really. I'm grateful. It's always better to have the stuff than to not have it.
Yes, indeed.
I'm still realistic about things. I didn't think just because she was into it that we were going to suddenly break the ship and all of a sudden the last book they'd all start selling really well. I don't think that's going to happen. But I know they're going to do better because Cassidy is good at her job and really, really tried. You know, she really was focused on, okay, it's a whole trilogy now. Let's send out the whole trilogy to everybody. Let's make sure people focus on this book is coming out, but all these books are out and they're great. If you haven't read them yet, go get them. That shit really helps. Like, she knew the job. She knows the job. And she really made this whole thing a lot better than it would have been. So I had to consciously make the decision, like, all right, Cassidy's on board. Last book coming out. It's the last book of my trilogy. I'm gonna re-engage. I'm gonna do everything I can do to help her. If she's up for the gig, she's working every day to do it. The least I can do is participate and do everything I can do. Because that's all anyone is ever looking for from a publisher, is that they just do the best they can do for your book, right? That's all I'm looking for. And considering the sales track of my book and where I'm at with the series, Cassidy has done everything that's been in her power to do to try to get it out there and make it a success. And I can't ask for more than that. So I was like, all right. So I told her I'm down. Set up all the appearances you can set up. Go shake my ass for the tips. Like, whatever you need from me. You need guest posts, you need essays, whatever it is, I'm here to do it. And it's been exhausting because those muscles had atrophied from not promoting these books for 4 or 5 years. But it was totally worth it. And it all made today better for me emotionally. It made me feel like it made me care about the commercial side of things. Like, before I was just focusing on the creative side of things. Like, I finished the story and that's got to be enough for me, and that's got to be fulfilling enough. But now I'm excited that the book is out and out in the world, and I'm excited that more people might read the trilogy than have before. You know, pick them up now. And while I'm still, again, I'm a realist about the potential for that commercially. It's a cool thing. It's just a cool thing. I'm not sitting here expecting, all right, we're going to break late in the game and this is going to be huge now and we can finally get them on lists and all that shit. I'm just happy that they have a better shot than they've had before. So I don't even know if that's a helpful answer to what we're talking about here. How do you deal with it?
It is.
Yeah,
I think, first I have to do a tiny little side comment. My editor left my previous publisher after the book was turned in and completely edited. And I think that is why her hand in it has got to be one of the biggest reasons it got all the nominations it did. She's phenomenal. But then when it came time for award season, someone from the publisher posted, hey, these are all the eligible novels that came out last year. And mine wasn't in there. And someone pointed that out. And the person said, oh, I didn't know books that got published in January were eligible.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. And I'm like, but that's part of last year. It's not just a test month. It's not a trial month to see if you like the year or not. So I get it. It was a little strange. But
I don't get it. I say we go find them and kick their ass right now. I'm down. Let's go.
We're moving on. We're adults.
Okay, we're moving on.
I'm speaking in the royal we, I suppose. But what I want to say is, just in case anybody has doubts, I talk about this a lot on my other podcast. Yes, it is possible that you can, of course, get so down and depressed that it's going to affect your writing. But other times, you can believe that your situation is bad or the books are bad. But if you're a pro writer like Matt is, then I'm betting that the work does not show that. In that you were talking about being dissatisfied and unhappy with that, and I just want to reiterate that you're still an amazing writer, and the books show that. I
mean, thank you, dude. That means a lot coming from
because
you.
Well, I try to tell people on the show, it's like, and I should be writing, which is you have days where you think what I'm writing is garbage, and then you have days where you think I am brilliant, and then when you're done and you look at the book, you probably can't point out which parts you wrote that were the good days and which were the bad days. So it's like there's the emotions on one level, and then there's the actual work that you've done that reflect all of your experience and your talent and your tenacity. Grit, I believe they call it.
The 3 T's.
Moxie.
Or 2 T's and a G and an M, I guess.
What?
No, I'm just... No, I'm just you're humbling me right now. But no, empirically, me as a specific example aside, you're absolutely right. And even me, I mean, dude, like before Nikki, my wife, because she's the first one to read all my stuff generally. Before she read Savage Bounty, the second book, I spent a year burying this book to her. I was just like, this is terrible. Everything I'm doing is terrible. I hate this. It's garbage compared to the first book, especially going through the non-editing process of the second book. I was just like, everyone's going to see I'm a fraud when this thing comes out. Like, I just buried this book to her harder than I've ever buried anything I've written to her.
Wow.
Because again, I was just in a huge depression spiral about the whole thing. Then she finally reads it, and she literally hits me in the head with it. And she's like, what the fuck were you talking about? This is great. And the thing you have to know about Nikki is Nikki is someone who has read something I've spent months working on and then looked at me and with all the love in her heart gone, this sucks. You need to fix it. That's Nikki. And that's what I expect. And that's why I married her.
Nikki is a badass and I love her.
Nikki is a badass. She will work with me. She helps me on my stuff a lot. She'll work with me to help, but she's unfailingly honest about my stuff. And she was genuinely just flabbergasted and angry with me for how I buried this book to her after she read it. She's like, she told me, I love the pacing in this way more than the first book that you wrote. Like, she just really loved it. And that was the thing that kind of made me go, yeah, I realized now. And I started to that's when I started to kind of climb out of the depression spiral, when I just realized I'm doing most of this to myself at this point, and I need to stop that. So, no, what you're saying is absolutely true. No one, and you know, I've said this to other people a million times. Like, no one will be harder on your work than you will be on it. You know, it's one of the reasons external criticism doesn't bother me. Like, you can't give me a review that will make me feel bad anymore, because you will never hate my work more than I have hated my work. It's not physically possible.
Yeah.
But even knowing that, you can still get caught in that trap of feeling depressed about it and just feeling like you're not doing a good job, even if someone who reads it cannot tell the difference. So it's a very salient point, and I appreciate you making it. And
well, also, man, it's your book launch day, and we do want this thing to sell. And I did.
No,
that was another reason why I hesitated to ask the question.
I get it.
I didn't want it to sound like the book was the. I still think you're an amazing writer, and I know you went through all that, but I still think that you delivered something that was amazing.
I really appreciate that. I tried to preface that by saying creatively how I feel about the books before I started just absolutely being. And the other thing, dude, is like, I don't want to. We didn't win a Hugo Award, which we did, but we didn't win a Hugo Award for sugarcoating things on this podcast.
That's true.
I wanted to be real about things, because this shit's important, and this is the stuff, you know, that nobody talks about when you're in a writing workshop and, you know, you're talking about character and motivation and whatnot. Nobody prepares you for, listen, they're going to throw your editor under a bus, and then you're going to have no one, and you're going to be orphaned, and no one's going to give a shit about your books at your own publisher.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you how to handle that.
Yeah.
No one tells you how to handle that. Like, this is important shit, so.
But dude, can we tell them how to handle that? Because you and
No,
I
we
both
can't.
have gone through it, and it sucked.
Right. No, it did. And that's the thing. It's like, I can't. But we can at least be honest and prepare you for these eventualities and just give you a frame of reference and let you know you're not alone. That's the thing. Because like you're going through all these things, and like you're on Twitter following all your author friends, and they all seem to be doing great, because everybody seems to be doing great on Twitter. And you start to feel like you're just shit, and this is happening because your books are shit and you're a shit writer.
Yeah, because if your book was really good, the publisher would recognize that and give you somebody good and new who cared about your book, even though they took the last person who thought it was good and new and cared about the book and fired them. But it is true, and it's a cold water splashed on the thought of, if I can just get that book contract, I'm there. And that is a big milestone. It's huge.
It is. Not to be taken lightly or taken away as an accomplishment, but it is only the beginning of the next phase of what is hopefully your career. And that's the part that we leave new writers out in the cold in a lot. And that's one of the whole reasons we do this fucking show in the first place. Yeah. Because not enough people talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So, Tobias Buckell did think I had him on I Should Be Writing talking about this. He was talking about how you kind of feel like an author's career is you start at the bottom and then you just go up, 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 up. And Toby's like, no, it's more like the stock market. It's going to go up and then you're going to dip and then it's going to go up and then you're going to dip. And I think, you mentioned Martha Wells is, somebody told me they read this debut, this amazing book about a murder bot that a new author, Martha Wells, had come out with, thinking that Murder Bot was her first book. And,
right. No, and the way the industry is structured and the way the public consciousness is structured, you can't even really blame them for it, honestly.
No, you can't. Yeah. But it was not her first book. Murder Bot pretty much reinvigorated her career with a fire hotter than 1,000 suns. But
and she absolutely deserves it.
Absolutely.
No, it's so interesting because, like, I one of the many angry Twitter threads I've written over the years on the subject. A while back, Martha's lovely husband replied to one of them, and I did not know who he was, but he told this very brilliant storyteller in his own right. He told this lovely story about, I am married to an author, and she wrote all these books, and then she hit this roadblock in her career, and her publisher orphaned her, and she didn't have an agent. It took her 2 years to write something new, and then eventually, but she stuck with it, and eventually she wrote this new book called Murder Bot that completely changed our lives. And it was just so amazing because I didn't know who he was talking about until he got to that part. Then I was like, oh my God, that's Martha Wells' story. And it made me, I've posted many times since, because like it actually really helped me at the time to hear that story. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is, that's so much closer to what most authors are going to experience if they keep at this than the idea of, I write a book, it becomes a bestseller, and then I have an amazing career. That's such the minority case when you're talking about publishing and writing books professionally.
Or even if you write a book and it does well, and the next book's going to do better, and the next one's going to do even better, and
and then it doesn't.
No, that doesn't always happen. It's that's why we call it ditch diggers, because sometimes you don't want to fucking go to work.
Exactly. And sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it feels like digging a hole in the earth endlessly for reasons you can't even fathom and are not going to benefit from.
Yeah, so writing, yay.
No, look, man, here's the thing. I do want to be honest, and I did want to talk about all this stuff.
Yes.
But the point you should take from this overall is, like, I came through all that. Mm-hmm. I'm here. The last book is out today. I finished my trilogy. I'm super happy about that. And, like, despite everything, Cassidy came along and has tried to give the books as much new life as you can. Like, you do have to stick with it to a certain point, because the other side of that coin is, like, sometimes persistence isn't the answer. And we don't talk enough about that either.
That's true. But that counters my first podcast. And so then I'm just like 2 podcasts punching at each other.
Dude, it's just such a nuanced thing, man. Everybody is different. That's the problem. This is such an individualistic thing. It's one of the reasons we can't have a union, because we're all so separate and compartmentalized from each other. But yeah, sometimes you do need to stay the course, and then other times, like, it's bad for your mental health and unsustainable to do it, and you actually do need to quit. And it's just hard to know when that is. What I will say for me to the end is, I am happy that I stuck with it. It was the right thing to do for me. I hit a point in the series where I was hoping they would just cancel it so I didn't have to deal with this anymore. Like, I wanted my own series to be canceled so that I just didn't have to deal with feeling this way anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's a terrible place to be at. I remember Cameron Hurley talking about how her series got canceled and didn't come out, but they paid her out the rest of it. And I'm, like, fantasizing about that happening to me. That's how, because I was in such a bad place. I'm really happy it didn't get canceled. I'm really happy the last book came out. And happy I was able to kind of navigate that very difficult, emotional, professional time to get to this point. And the other thing is, it has not sold well, but it has sold, and people have read it and they do love it. And I'm glad I got to finish that story for them. Yeah. It would really have sucked for the people who actually really like these books if I didn't get to finish it. And, I lost sight of that for a long time. And I've talked a little about that too. It's like when you say no one is reading your book, what you really mean is not enough people are reading my book to satisfy me emotionally, financially, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because it's never no one is reading your book. It's just you have to really make a bunch of money or do all this other stuff. You just have to have this critical mass of people. And what you're saying is I haven't built that critical mass yet. But there are people out there who fucking love these books. And that's an amazing thing, man. If one I know it sounds cheesy and contrite and corny, and it's not a way to sustain a career. but if one person reads your book and is seriously moved by it or moved by it even a little bit, or they read it during chemo. Like I've had multiple people tell me that, and it just fucking blows my mind that that's a thing. But I'm grateful for that. It makes it worth doing and going through the trouble of writing it and publishing it and dealing with all the bullshit you do in publishing. So that's something to not lose sight of or to dismiss or be reductive of or take for granted. And that's part of what helped get me through all the bad parts of doing this. And why I'm happy today instead of sad. That's the thing. I'm happy today. I know that might have been hard to glean from everything I've said, but I'm very happy today to be at the end of this thing and to see this book come out, hold this whole trilogy in my hand that I wrote that got published. It's a very cool thing. So, there are all kinds of different ways to find your enthusiasm when it's waning. You gotta, if you're not lucky enough to get a new publicist who reinvigorates you for the series, you got to kind of tweak your own on it, and that's something I had worked on even before Cassidy came on. I had to look at it from a different way, because my big hopes were I finally, with a big publisher, with a lead title, first in my series, I want this to sell really well, and I want it to make bestseller lists, and I want it to kickstart this whole new phase of my career. That didn't happen. And I focused so much on that it devastated me and made me really depressed. And there were, other factors that were happening that were not cool. It's not like I was creating the whole situation myself. But eventually I had to get to a place where I tweaked my perspective and was like, okay, that didn't happen. But here's all the cool shit that did happen, and it is happening and will be true because of these books. And I need to realize that all of that is valid and worthwhile too.
Yeah. And it's really hard to put your hopes and dreams on things that are in other people's control.
Yeah.
And, you can write the books and you can do as much campaigning for the books that you can do. But really, it's like the whole bestseller thing, the movie options, the awards, they're all out of your hands.
It is. And oh my God, that's such a good and important point to make. And something that we also don't tell enough new authors that you kind of, and some people never learn it, which is really fucked up. But no, it's purely mathematically, people have done the research and gotten grants to study the statistics, true, that you have very little, if no, outcome on how your book does, no matter what you do most of the time. If you're one of the fortunate authors who has a massive, giant platform before they do a book, that can help. But for the average person who doesn't have that, you can get out there and dance on tables as much as you possibly can. And really, it's not going to have any outcome on it. It's going to come down to the resources and the amount of those resources and time that your publisher puts behind promoting your book. That's it. That's all there is. And you have no control over that either. So, you get into this mindset of it's so crazy because, I don't say crazy because it's not cool, but it's so bananas to me that when your book comes out and it doesn't do well, you tend to think of it like, man, my publisher went door to door to every person who reads a book in the world and offered them this book, and all of those people said no. Yeah. That's how you think of it. When the truth is, when your book fails, it is unmitigatedly because most people who read books have no idea your book exists. Yeah. No one has said no to your book. They don't even fucking know it's out there. That's the truth most of the time. And we tend to focus on that first part, which is ludicrous. That's not a thing that happens. So it's tough, man. It's a very internalized personal thing. And I mean, the way the industry and the public views things also doesn't help either. I did a thread on this a while ago. It's just that idea of no one ever blames the publisher when a book fails. Yeah. It's always the author's fault. It's always your book wasn't good enough. You're not good enough. That's why it failed. No one ever talks about, well, what did the publisher actually do to promote it? No one talks about that. And it's really fucked up that's how we're hardwired, and that's the kind of mentality we approach things with.
Well, it's because you know the face behind the book. You can point to that person. You don't know that asshole in marketing who cut my budget. You don't know that. And you don't know
You don't know the CEO. You can't go give the CEO shit. So,
yeah, do you blame the publisher who fired your editor and gave you a new one, or do you blame the new editor who just didn't do their job as well as you thought? I mean, there's just so much going on in that behind the curtain publishing thing that the author's easier to blame.
We're always the easiest to, especially when we're out front. It's like everybody blaming Chuck Wendig for the archive thing failing. Nobody has access to the CEOs who actually did that. So but Chuck's online. Let's go give him shit. It's a terrible thing. And that's what makes that engagement such a double-edged sword. But yeah, man, the bullet point here is fucking cut yourself some slack, bro. You did your job. You wrote the book. Your only job is to write the book the best you can. That's your only job. All this other shit that they make you feel like you have to do is not your job. You shouldn't have to be good at it. You shouldn't have to be good at marketing and promotion. It's not your job. Yeah. But it's become such an expected, taken for granted part of the culture of publishing that no one stops to realize, oh wait, I did my job already. I should be done. Why aren't you guys doing your fucking job? You didn't write the book. Yeah. It's just so cut yourself some slack. Realize everything we just said and cut yourself some slack when things don't go well.
Yeah, a lot of publishers have the questionnaire. Yeah, Matt knows what I'm talking about. It's a questionnaire that lists basically everything that you know or can do to help promote the book, including what major people in media do you know that you can contact to say, review my book, please? And, things like that.
It's so dumb. It's like them basically asking, so do you know Kanye West? I mean, not Kanye West. He's just the first person I thought of. But they're literally like, do you know any famous people? Can they talk about the book? Mm-hmm. And it's not, the thing is, that's not the wrong kind of attitude thing to be thinking, like, let's get famous people to promote your book. But it's just, you got to understand, they really are putting it all on you. They're not going out and finding any famous people. They're just like, well, do you know any famous people? Yeah. And you go, no. And then that's the end of the conversation where they're like, okay, well, then famous people are going to talk about your book then because you don't know anybody.
Well, but the tangent to that is maybe you do know famous people, and maybe you don't want to go up to your friends and say, hey, can I exploit your following for my own benefit? But I really like you for who you are, I promise. Right. That's the other side. If you do happen to know some well-known people. I mean, I remember when I had a workshop with Cory Doctorow. I went to the Viable Paradise workshop. That's Viable with a V. Everyone hears Bible Paradise when I say that. It's a Viable Paradise. It's a wonderful workshop. But Cory Doctorow was teaching at it, and he was one of the major editors of Boing Boing at the time. And he was telling us how he hated it when his friends would send him something to go on Boing Boing that was like directly, like just send him an email and say, hey, can you put this on Boing Boing? When Cory's a very, very organized guy. He's the kind of person that answers every email when it comes. And he needs he wants the things to go through the proper channels. And, I always remembered that because I'd like to say Cory's my friend, and I would never want to ask him for, the furthest you go is to ask somebody for a blurb. You know, it's, and that's hard even enough.
I was going to say, even that is excruciating, and I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. But it's awful because, and one of the reasons it's awful, honestly, is because we all know so many authors and we all need the same kind of help. And you hate putting more on your author friends. Like it's so bad. But
you've got a book that you haven't read for a blurb, and then you're just like, hey, who's gonna blurb my book? That's true. The Kids Are Asleep says asking for blurbs yourself can be tough if you have no ability to give somebody an arc. Yes.
It is, yes, exactly.
I came up against that. And we've had some people in chat we should probably pay attention to.
Yes, we should acknowledge the chat a little. I'm just going on and on here. I saw Scott Pondy's in the house. Scott Pond. He said congratulations a while ago. Thank you, Pondy. Everybody's been saying very nice things.
Yes, Under Pope is going to ride the coattails of your famous author friend. Good, Godspeed. Stephen Joys is here. Everyone who enjoys fun variety streamers, follow Stephen Joys. You're a writer, not an unpaid social media advertising website publisher, publishing SEO logistics expert. No, Stephen, I'm not. I'm sorry.
The kids who are asleep said bad feels could be like shit colored glasses when we read our own stuff, and I just want to acknowledge that because it's a great sentence.
Yes. So, there's a major shuttle crash in Station Eternity, and a good number of the people aboard die. And they're not established as characters, it's just we get a list of who died. Because they're all supposed to be notable people, senators and pop stars and stuff. And I'm hitting that point in the chapter, and I'm like, I hate coming up with names. I hate it. And now I have to come up with a whole bunch. And so basically I asked my Discord, who wants to be a dead person in my books? And I took every name they gave me. And Whimsical Sage just says, I just read Station Eternity yesterday, and it's so good to see that you're alive, Cheryl, because Cheryl was one of the dead people in my books. I believe, didn't I make you a senator, Cheryl? A senator or diplomat? I can't remember. But, yeah. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah. This stuff's hard. And
this stuff is very hard. If you hadn't gleaned that from the last hour of us talking about this, yes, it's a very hard thing to do. No, but seriously, sometimes it's enough to just recognize that, and not enough people do. Because writing is so immensely devalued as a profession and as a skill and as a craft by so many people. Yeah. You get to a point where you feel like complaining or whining about it or whatever, you feel like that's what it is. You feel like you're whining and you should shut up. Like, no, give yourself the credence to realize this is a very hard thing to do. Mm-hmm. Especially because most of us have to do it around all the other shit we have to do because no one is paying you enough to do this. So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Just be kinder with yourself than you're being, because you probably need to be kinder with yourself than you're being.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We literally have been talking for about an hour now. And
we have.
I think we should give away some books. That's what I think.
Okay.
I have books. I have these books here.
All right. Are you... The thing with giveaways is, are we going international or not? Because I know we have at least some Canadians in chat. We have...
Yeah, no. I'll ship international. I got a corporation. I can expense it. It's a business thing. Let's do it. Yeah. Oh, do you have...
I got tools, man. I got tools.
I didn't know. That was the thing. I said to Mer before we started, I want to give away these books, but I have no idea how to do it because I don't know how Twitch works.
I think I missed that part. I'm sorry. I was probably trying to run around and do things. No, we have a... But you guys already know. Okay.
Apparently, chat's going crazy.
Oh, I guess I put open the giveaway, and I guess it told chat what was going on. Yeah, you do !savage to do the big giveaway. And we'll let that run for 10 minutes. But I want to bring up one thing that we forgot to talk about. I didn't really forget to talk about it because it's not really the point of what we're doing here. But
right,
you are a game designer by day, and
oh shit, yes, I completely forgot.
It's really funny because all the authors I know are very good with their NDAs. Some will tell you, but most will not. And Matt and I have been very close. Tom, to enter the giveaway, you do !savage. As you see other people doing in the chat. So I've known Matt has been working at a game company for years now, and I did not know anything about what he was doing. And so he sent me a text on Sunday saying that the big, what they call it, the Xbox gaming
Summer showcase, Summer Fest.
Yeah. Anyway, Microsoft
not E3, basically.
Not E3 was putting out an hour of videos to announce new games.
Yep.
And we sat through the whole thing. Yours was the anchor.
Ours was the main event.
Starfield, I guess, which was another hour after that
one.
But
Starfield had its own thing. We headlined the mainstream.
Yes, Robin, In Exile, right?
In Exile Entertainment.
So tell us about the game now that you finally can. And I'm going to be so fucking jealous because it sounds amazing. And if you need any other writers, let me know.
I told you on Sunday, if I had any hiring authority at the studio, you already would have a job.
Okay.
There are several people that would already have jobs, but I have not achieved that level of power yet. Yet, I say. No, it's so funny. We just got so deep into this, I completely forgot that this other thing even existed. So yes, in Exile Entertainment, the game is called Clockwork Revolution. No one knew anything about it before Sunday. Like it had been top secret, and they do not fuck around about that stuff. Like,
Oh no.
Somebody put something on their Pinterest that kind of ancillarily hinted at what the genre of the game might be. And I think they flayed that guy alive and hung his body outside.
There was a gear.
Studio. Yeah.
There was a gear. Yeah.
And it wasn't even that I didn't want to like tell close people. I was afraid to type anything and send anything over an open network. So I didn't fuck around with that. So yeah, nobody knew what it was. If you searched for Xbox Summer Showcase on Google before Sunday, nobody was even talking about us. I think IGN mentioned us in their prediction list like right at the end, and they thought we might be doing like a Fallout kind of thing. So it was really cool to see what the reactions were going to be on Sunday when they announced the game, the trailer dropped, and it was not disappointing. So it's Clockwork Revolution is a first-person shooter and a sprawling role-playing game. It's a steampunk, and it has time travel elements to it, and that's kind of all I can say right now. I can't really say anything beyond what you saw in the trailer, but
yeah, that's pretty much what the trailer says. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's oh my god, dude! It's beautiful. It's amazing. So yeah, man, I've been working on it for a long time, and it was a long time of not being able to say anything. It was really cool to see and again, like we said, the trailer headlined the Xbox stream. Like it opened with Fable and it closed with Clockwork Revolution, and then Phil Spencer comes on, the CEO of Xbox Studios, and the first two games he talks about were Fable and Clockwork Revolution, which is very, 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 very cool for all of us. So yeah, I am one writer among many. I'm one narrative designer among many. I work with an amazing team of writers on this thing, but I have been with this game since the beginning. It's the first video game I've worked on since inception, and I'm super, super excited about it. So yeah, it's been a week for me so far, bro.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, this is the biggest thing I've ever worked on, honestly. It's the biggest canvas and the biggest kind of just media like property I've ever worked on. So it's been super cool all I was doing Sunday was just watching like Twitch streamers like you, Mer, react to the trailer, and it was just so cool to see everybody like dig it and vibe on it and get excited about it.
Yeah. Very much looking forward to that. I'm yeah, we're not sure whether we're gonna update our Xbox or get it for. Do you know if you're supporting the Steam Deck?
I don't recall offhand. I know
Okay.
I know it's going to be through Game Pass on Xbox, and it's going to be PC. That was announced.
I know Steam was on the list, but not every game released on Steam is on the. I'm saving up for a Steam Deck. That's my birthday present to myself.
No, totally get it. I'm not going to say because I don't know and I don't want to guess and I don't want to say anything. And yeah, I'm just so afraid of saying something I'm not supposed to say at this point. So
yeah.
But yeah, so it's all very cool.
And I'm sorry, folks. I keep meaning to put in order to not have pre-roll ads, and I realize I'm saying this and no one's going to be hearing it because they're listening to the regular ads. I'm still working with getting ads running at the proper time. I'm not a pro like Stephen Joyce and who like takes a little. Okay, thank you, Robin. As I was saying, I put the ads in the middle so that people can come directly to the stream and not get ads in the first part, and then I forgot to warn people at certain times that the ads are coming and take a break then, and that is on me, and I'm very sorry. I need to take a class from Steven. Steven, can we talk offline? Because I just really need some help from you. Because Steven is recently just amazing streamer, but also leveled up, and with all the new stuff on his channel. So anyway, thank you, Steven. So I apologize for the ads there. We were talking about Clockwork Revolution. We were talking about that book you have that's out. We were talking about dropping my pen. Anything else you want to talk about before we... Let's see, how much more time do we have on this giveaway? If you just arrived, the giveaway is !Savage, and you will get the trilogy sent directly from Matt, which means they'll be signed. You're signing them, right? You're not going to be one of those people?
No, I'm signing all of them. I'll personalize it if you want, or I could just sign my name so you can sell them on eBay. Like, it's up to you. I have no issue either way.
Excellent. I haven't done a giveaway in a while. Oh, good.
I'm just
tell me where I'm in the. Oh no, there it is. Haha. Okay, 2 minutes left on the timer.
Oh yeah, I see it. That's wild. No, I'm just like I said. I didn't know we had tools for this so I thought I was gonna have to like close my eyes and then just point at my screen to a chat name. I didn't know.
We got it. I got you taken care of.
I should have known. You're Twitch Pro, Mer. You got a crackerjack
I am a Twitch
operation here. I should have anything you.
What's after apprentice? Journeyman. I'm Twitch journeyman.
Journeyman. That's unnecessarily gendered, but that's fine. Whatever. That's good. Someone is asking a question. Why can't I see the name?
Journey person. Twitch semi-prozine. Thank you, Numbers Ninja. K. Kimmy wants to know how many game / projects you work on at any given moment.
Far too many is the overarching answer to that quote. Way more than I should, or that is sustainable over the long term. I write for the studio full time, like 40 hours a week. It's my full time. It's a full time job, and I'm usually working on at least 2 books. Aside from that, if not more, in varying stages at any time. But at the game job,
this is why we don't put out our podcast as often as we used to, because Matt is so fucking busy and important.
Yes, it's just me. You're not doing 12 million things yourself or anything. So at the game studio, I only do 1 game at a time, though. If we need to specify more, that's generally how it works. You start on a project, you work on it for many years, and then you move to another project.
Yeah, and I was not implying that you are the problem. You're very, very busy. There is denying that.
I wanted to also point out that you too are very busy and doing many exciting and wonderful things that we are excited about.
I kind of do some stuff. We are at the last seconds. If you have not entered, ! Savage to enter the giveaway. And then I believe it just kind of happens in 15 seconds. It's so exciting.
Sweet. How many people can we pick? We didn't really talk about that.
We did not.
We're just doing one?
That.
Can you do more than one? I'll do 3. I'll do up to 3 if we can pick 3 people.
We can. Okay, we'll take the. Okay. Oh, I hit pick winner. Can I say how many? Hang on. I'm trying to understand. This is not useful. All right, we're going to randomly pick one winner, and then we're going to roll a die for the remaining people.
I like it.
I just need a die, but,
I
have a lot of dice in this house because gaming's nerdy.
I was going to say, I gotta believe in your house. You're never that far from a many-sided die.
It's Shauna!
Yay! Shauna's the winner? Is that what we're saying?
Shauna's the winner.
Shauna's the winner. Congratulations, Shauna. That's awesome.
Okay.
So you're gonna get a set of the full trilogy in paperback signed, and if you want me to personalize it to you, could you email me that? Because that would be helpful. Can you email me at matt@matt-wallace.com and let me know how you want the book personalized and where to send it to?
All right.
Is that cool? Maybe put that in the chat for reference.
Well, Shauna's also active in the Discord, so I can tell them that if they somehow missed it, but they're sending me ease and okay, sounds good, so.
Sweet. Yes, matt@matt-wallace.com, address, and let me know how you want the books personalized, and I will get them out to you lickety-split.
Yes, there are a lot of dice in this house, just not in this room.
It's very interesting.
Not really. It's quite boring, and I don't know why I said it out loud.
I was trying to go with it.
I know you were. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I gotta. Let me just see if I can pick another one. See what the bot'll do.
Yeah, no, I gotta believe we have the technological capability to pick more. No, we don't.
Oh wait, no. Okay, yes, I can. Okay, Under Pope won the second one.
Oh, sweet! Congrats, Under Pope. That's awesome.
And we got one more. You said 3, right?
No, yeah, 3 is good. Numbers Ninja is just on it, man. Thank God for Numbers Ninja.
What's Numbers Ninja doing?
Well, they announced the thing. Is
that a bot? Thank you. And the third one, Hildy Eric.
Hildy Eric, congratulations.
All right, so those are the three. I've learned a little bit more about what my bot can do, which is cool. So
Cool.
thank you, Matt.
So it wasn't Numbers Ninja bot. See, I don't know how anything works. So I'm still going to give Numbers Ninja credit though. Yeah. Very cool. Well, congrats to all the winners. Again, please email me at Matt with 2 T's at matt-wallace.com, just like my name, and let me know where to send the book, and let me know how you want it personalized, if you want it personalized to you. And like I said, congrats. Thanks for coming. I really, seriously, thank you for coming out to the stream. That means the most to me. I really appreciate you being here to celebrate with Mur and I. Very cool.
Oh, talk about Dark Delicacies.
Oh, no, yeah. So I am doing a number of events this month, and one of them is my first live in-person store event since 2020, since before the lockdown started. I have not done an in-person store book-related event since then. I'm going to be at Dark Delicacies in Burbank, California, I believe on the 24th, but you can go to the event section of matt-wallace.com to find out about all the events. But yeah, Dark Delicacies is an amazing store in Burbank. It's horror themed. It's not strictly a bookstore. They do have a lot of books and a lot of magazines and comics and stuff, but they also have a giant collection of memorabilia and all kinds of horror related merchandise. They do a lot of horror themed events there with authors and filmmakers and actors. The last time I was there, I think I did an event with Amber Benson and Cory Doctorow we did a signing all together. So
That doesn't sound like
they did really cool events there. No, it was not. No, it was, dude. I'm sure I've told that story on the podcast before about how, like, when I first came to California, one of the first things I did was go to Dark Delicacy. Yeah, right. I went to Dark Delicacies and Amber Benson was signing there, and I was a scrub author at the time, and I was like, I'd love to be a fancy author doing fancy events like Amber Benson, and then I got to do an event with Amber Benson. So it was really, she's delightful, by the way. Couldn't be a nicer person. And obviously we're big fans of Cory on this podcast too, and Mur's good friends with him.
Oh yeah.
So Dark Delicacies is an immensely cool place. If you're anywhere around Burbank, California on the 24th of June, I really hope you'll come see me and say hi and, get your book signed or whatever you want to do. I'll be there. And I'm looking forward to it. I've done a lot of I used to do a lot of book events there. I did a lot of my Sin du Jour events there. I did the Savage Legion launch there when the first Savage book came out. They're great people. I always like supporting them and bringing them business. My mother will be there. You can meet my mom too. She'll be floating around taking pictures, buying all the copies of my books because that's just how she is. And
so you can't have any.
No, man, my mom makes the owner's day when I do live events because they know they're going to sell out no matter what happens.
My dad does the same thing, although we don't have a local indie bookstore in where I'm from, but my dad just buys lots of copies. I'm like, Dad, I can send you a copy. He's like, no, then I get some to hand out to people. And
exactly, you gotta, it's for extra people. She's bringing me copies to sign for like 20 million people too. She's just, that's what your parents do, Also, your dad can kill people with his iron fist, so he's a cool dude.
That's just totally relevant and a nice little afterthought there.
It's always the thing I think of when you mention your dad because it's just very cool to me. But yeah, that is also the other things you said are also cool too.
Yes.
And in conjunction with all that, because I was going to mention at the end anyway, like I said, go to matt-wallace.com. I'm also tomorrow I'm doing a virtual event hosted by Copper Dog Books with Kate Elliott, which I'm really excited about. I'm doing one at the end of the month at Mysterious Galaxy with Preemi Muhammad, which I'm very excited about.
Preemi? You get to do a Preemi thing?
I get to do it's a virtual, those are all virtual events, so it doesn't matter where you're in the world, they're all free. You got to sign up for Crowdcast to see them, but that's free too. So please go to my website and get all the info on that and come out and support all of those, especially the ones where I'm with other authors because they're way more interesting, especially because, Kate Elliott, Prima, they're amazing people. So please do come check all that out. I'm going to be all over the places all month, and you can find out where at my website.
Excellent. Well, I'm Mur Lafferty, and you can find my stuff at murverse.com, where I have a new podcast. Did I tell you about this?
You have a new pod? You're doing another podcast?
Yeah,
what is wrong
I got a new
with
podcast.
you?
Well, I've been trying to figure out what to do. My archives are so big that I've wanted to maybe, and basically my archives have chronicled my career since before I'd ever sold a short story. And so I decided to go through and look at the early episodes and comment on them. So it's the first episodes with commentary on either end. And I'm transcribing them as well. And then I'm commenting on,
Sweet.
I'm annotating the transcriptions for Patreon supporters. So that's a little bit more under the hood detail and snark provided there. So yeah.
That's amazing. That sounds awesome. I'm down.
You have I Should Be Writing, which is me now talking about writing. And then you've got I Should Have Been Writing, which is me commenting on the early episodes of I Should Be Writing. So, yeah.
It's like DVD special features, if anybody remembers those. Who
Pretty
doesn't
much,
love
yeah.
Who doesn't love
is.
DVD extras? Yeah, that's awesome.
Mighty Mur, the Gritty Reboot. Yes, K. Kimmy. And then you've got Chaos Terminal, which is available for pre-order. And it is very pretty yellow and green cover. And that comes out in November. It's a Mur Reacts to Mur channel. I guess it is. There will be no
Mur Reacts to Mur channel. That's awesome.
There'll be no direct. It's probably either giggling or hiding in embarrassment instead of like shock or outrage or disgust or something. So, but anyway, people are saying they're enjoying it. I've got 2 episodes up, and I don't see anybody on to raid. Steven, are you streaming today? I forget whether you're on Monday or a Tuesday. But since you're still commenting, then I'm guessing you're not streaming right now. Not tonight, sadly. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but you guys should follow Steven Joy's regardless, because a more pleasant stream you will not find. And
damn right.
Matt, congratulations, dude. You busted your ass, and I know it was not the best journey, but I'm hoping the destination will make you happy.
So it was a journey worth taking. Thank you for doing the stream and helping me celebrate today, dude. It made it all that much more special. You and Numbers Ninja, and of course Jimothy, wherever he is. All of you have my love. You're some of my favorite people, and I can't wait to get to see you all in person again.
I know, that's gonna be fun. I get to see Matt in 2 months. Yay! All right, so we will hopefully be back next week, and we have someone. It's not confirmed yet, so I'm not going to say who, but we do have a guest planned. We just need to confirm it. But yeah, follow on Twitch. We're going to remain live on Twitch. I Should Be Writing has moved to just recording, but Twitch remains live because Matt and I have fun talking to each other. But exactly. Congratulations, Matt. This podcast was produced under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives License. Music provided by Devo Spice, devospice.com.
Ditch Diggers!
This is a free podcast brought to you by the kindness of our patrons. If you would like to also be kind and a patron, go to patreon.com/mightymur.